Welcome to In the Middle. I'm Vykky. I'm a wife, a mom, and a leader shaping some of the world's most beloved brands. This is the podcast for all of us figuring it out in real time. In 20 minutes or less, let's get in the middle of it all. I'm so glad you're here. Hey y'all, welcome back to In the Middle. I am so glad you're here. All right, today I'm just sipping some water, not too exciting. That's just what I'm doing today. So I am in the middle of taking my backyard back. Today, Jordan and I spent a good amount of time digging out a bunch of weeds. Well, I spent time pulling weeds. She basically spent time picking up snails, but I feel like we were both successful in our own way. Also, quick pod update. We are getting very close to the end of my very first season, which is kind of wild. The plan is to take the summer off and then come back in the fall for season 2. I am already so excited for some of the things that I have in the works. More to come soon, but I just wanted to let y'all know we're getting very close to the end of the first season. And thank you so much for making this such a fun and enjoyable season. Okay, so enough about that. Today, I want to talk about the things that actually make my life easier. I used to feel like a lot of my life was harder than it needed to be, and I just couldn't figure out why. And what I realized is that ease doesn't just happen. It is created. For me, everything started to change when I stopped trying to manage everything in my head and I started building systems. So today, I want to walk you through some of the things that I do in my life to make my life a little bit easier. Not aesthetic, not Pinterest perfect, just what actually works for me and my family. The first belief I had to accept is that ease isn't a personality trait or a season you live in, it's a structure. Have you ever noticed there are just certain people who you maybe are around that it just seems like they always have it together. Their hair is neatly done. Their clothes seem freshly pressed. They always have their like picture perfect lunches when you're working with them. And it's like, man, how do they keep it all buttoned up? For a really long time, I just assumed that that was their personality type. That was something that they just did. It just came natural to them. And what I have learned over the years is that for the most part, these are behaviors that people have curated and nurtured and focused on. And now the fruit of all of the work that they've put in is this ease. They flow through their systems like it is a habit because they have developed it over the years. And what I recognized is the hardest parts in my life were those that had the least amount of structure. And what that released for me is that I didn't, in fact, need to be better. I needed better systems. So when I think about what makes my life easier, I don't think about hacks. I think about systems that I've created. And one of the biggest areas that I've simplified is food. Okay, y'all, I'm gonna keep it real. I don't like to cook. I can cook, but I just don't enjoy it. And I would just love for us to continue to normalize it. I definitely think on social and in movies and things like that, we're starting to see a mix of who leads in the cooking category in families. But of course, historically, women often are the ones who have the mantle and carry the mantle of being the main cooks in the house. And I think everyone should do what makes the most sense for their family. But for me, I cook because it protects our budget. I cook because I know exactly what ingredients are going into our food. But candidly, if I had my way, I would not cook that much. It doesn't bring me joy in the way that some of my friends, they just take such pride in the meals they create. It gives them energy. And that's just not my ministry. But I admire it and I love it. And I know that I have those same things in other areas like curating a home. I love designing a home and just making it feel warm and welcoming and curated but lived in. And so I know that that is my strength and that is a gift that I have. But when it comes to cooking, I can do it, but I don't like to do it. And so recently we have been on this hunt to find ways to introduce a variety of meals and health conscious meals to our family, but also be mindful of the budget and the amount of time that it was going to take. And I don't know if y'all have been seeing this on social, but Whole Foods is having a moment when it comes to these family meals. And it is something that has had my family in the chokehold for the last few weeks. And this is not sponsored, although it would be great if it was. They have these $30 to $35 family meals where you get two sides and an entree. And we have had everything from salmon to meatballs to this chicken scapinoli thing that Emmanuel is really obsessed with. And it's been really, really good. And so not only are we eating this for dinner, but I am packing it up and taking it for lunch too. And I'm having these really great, flavorful meals that are all like organic. They're really intentional about how they prepare their foods at Whole Foods. And it's just been a really big unlock for our family. I think it's down to about $6 a meal, which is great. And also just not having to cook. So that is what we've been doing lately. You know, I stopped trying to be this woman who loves cooking and built a system for the woman that I actually am. And I hope that if this is something that you may be wrestling with, whether it's cooking or laundry, whatever it is, I think we have to stop fighting against what comes to us naturally and not be so beholden to these expectations that candidly sometimes we just put on ourselves. You know, my goal isn't perfection. I have let that go. My goal is consistency. And that has been a theme that's been popping up across the last, I don't know, 5 to 7 episodes. I am really, really doing my level best to be consistent in as many areas of my life as I can be. Another thing that has made a huge difference in my life is how I think about outsourcing. I was actually just talking to a couple of my very dear friends, Casey and Christina, on Marco Polo. And we were trading tips and tricks on the things that we were outsourcing. We talked about what we've tried so far, what we want to try. And honestly, that conversation was so refreshing just to interact with other high performing, family oriented Christian women that are saying like, hey, I'm not trying to do it all, be it all. I'm going to outsource. I'm going to build my team to keep my family running efficiently. And in that moment, I realized how much of that shame of not being able to keep up a high performing career and family, how much of that shame has fallen away. And it was really refreshing to have this conversation and see my friends build these healthy and sustainable lives for themselves and their families. And it affirms something that I've been believing for a really long time. I don't see outsourcing as a convenience. I see it as a capacity provider. Right now, we have dry cleaning that gets picked up and delivered to our home, and we have a house cleaner that comes every other week. And I know I see so much privilege in that, and I'm so grateful that there is some disposable income that will allow for that. And I never want to be tone deaf when I'm speaking to my audience. And so I understand if that is not where you are today, but I do also want to share that it wasn't that long ago that wasn't something that was tangible and something that we consistently did, but it was something that was always top of mind, that as we increased our compensation, it was something that we put further and further up on our priority list based on the things that we needed for our family in order for us to continue to thrive and be able to connect in meaningful ways. And then there are things that I still want for our family, but we just haven't had an opportunity to prioritize it yet financially. But I already know would unlock another level for us. A household assistant is a big one for me. If you've never heard of the term of a household assistant, I originally heard about it from I don't know the woman's name, but her business is called Sage House, Sagehaus. Again, not sponsored, but whenever I see good content or good creators, I'm going to give them their credit. She introduced me to this concept of a household assistant. And I went through a mini program of hers, and she had a lot of downloads and resources to use to prepare to hire a household assistant. And we were really, really close. What this household assistant could do is, my dream was to have this person come in a couple of times a week. They'd pick up around the house. Y'all know how it is when your family, you're rushing out the door, you're leaving stuff out on the kitchen counter, the rooms are a mess, etc. This person would come in and just do a nice pickup. They would load the dishwasher, run a few loads of laundry just to help to keep those things at bay. They would do the Amazon returns because we never want to do those. They would pick up groceries, restock groceries, empty the fridge, fill the cars with gas, whatever you need around the house. This isn't like a nanny or anything like this. This person truly helps to keep the household running. They do some of the quarterly things that you have to do, picking up things for mail, delivering packages, whatever you need. This person would be another set of hands that would learn your systems and would be able to support your day-to-day a couple of times a week. And for me, All of these tasks individually, they're not hard, but if you pile each of them up, this is when the mental load and that taxation starts to set in. The other role that I want, and I know I've talked about this on the pod before, this is something that is way, way, way down the line, is a chef. Like I said earlier on this episode, I'm just not crazy about cooking, so it would be a dream to have a chef. But again, that one is like a nice to have, whereas I feel like the household assistant would really change the game around how our family flows and how much more intentional time we could spend together if we weren't so bogged down with the daily chores and the ripping and running of everyday life. And it's not because I can't do these things, but because I am really clear now on what my time and energy are better spent on. And cleaning was actually the first place I had to get honest about that, because I like cleaning. Honestly, I don't mind it. I will put on my headphones, I will turn on a good podcast, and I will get to scrubbing. But what I didn't like was what it was costing me. I would look up and realize I spent my entire weekend cleaning and I did not spend meaningful time with my family. And at the same time, if the house was messy, I couldn't relax. So I was stuck either way. So bringing in a cleaner every other Friday completely changed our rhythm, because now when Saturday comes, I am not waking up to a never-ending to-do list. The house is clean, it feels calm, and I can actually be present with my family instead of mentally tracking what still needs to be done. I wasn't buying convenience, I was buying back my presence. Now my home supports my life, it doesn't compete with it. And that same idea of creating clarity and structure shows up in how we run our household too. One of the simplest systems we've created is something we call morning duty and night duty. You have to let me know if you do some versioning of this in your family. So for those of you who don't, here's what it is. One of us, my husband and I, we will take morning duty with our daughter or night duty with our daughter. So if you're on morning duty, that means you're getting her up and out the bed, although she is an early riser like her mama. So if she is not bedside by 6:30, there's a chance that she probably is under the weather. So she gets herself up, but you make sure she's dressed, her teeth are brushed, she has breakfast, her lunch is packed, her hair is presentable, all of the things, and you get her off to school. That is morning duty. Evening duty, the same thing, but in reverse. You pick her up from school. She probably wants a snack either in the car or as soon as she gets home. She does spelling words in school, and so you go through her words, you have her write, she reads, she has dinner, she gets a little screen time, and then you do bath and bedtime, you read some more, you do prayers, and you get her tucked into bed. This creates this environment where it's super clear who is the parent that is fully on. Now, that doesn't mean that the other parent is just sort of out and they don't do anything for the family, although that's also fine too. It is their free time. But what it does is it creates this clarity of like, okay, you are laser focused on Jordan's. The phones are down. You are spending intentional time. You're making sure she has what she needs in order to move about her day and move through her routine. The other parent may be doing laundry or preparing dinner of some sort, or they may be working late, which both of us do. We didn't need 50-50. We just needed clarity. Now it's hilarious because Jordan now will say, who's doing morning duty? So it just like, it has really become language in our family. And it is nice to just be able to identify this system that we don't have to have these in the moment conversations and decision making to sort of set the tone or throw off the tone for our day. For me, it wasn't just about dividing responsibilities. It was about creating clarity and predictability. Because if I know I can beeline it straight to the gym, that's one mindset. And if I know I'm getting a 7-year-old out the door for school, that's a completely different one. And trying to negotiate that in real time every day did not set us up for a great start or a calm ending to our evenings. This system removed friction for us. And honestly, y'all, a lot of this comes down to how I manage it in my head. I am a planner, like a real planner. If it's not on my calendar, it is not real. I am the queen of docs, spreadsheets, trackers. I even use the oversized sticky pads. I would turn the camera, but I would be embarrassed, but I have them stuck right up here on my wall. I have running tasks lists for the home, for myself, even for the podcast. I do an outfit tracker. So I am not someone who, I really love the idea of a capsule wardrobe, but I also think I'm an undercover maximalist. And so there are times I just want to wear like a full skirt that just billows out, and I might wear it once or twice a year. So instead of being like, I'm only rotating these 12 pieces, what I do is build out this tracker in my phone, and I will say, I wore this with this, and this is how I felt about it. This is how I liked it. Or sometimes I'll put a picture in it. And if I didn't like it, I'll remind myself the next time I try an outfit is to try a different combination with it. But I keep this tracker because even if I'm not feeling quite inspired of what to pick for the day, I can go back through my tracker and say, oh, what did I wear? I'm checking the weather. I'm like, oh, this will be good. And that helps to cut down that decision fatigue that we all face over something that is completely repeatable, like outfits. I'm also really my vacation tracker. Y'all, everything goes in there. I plan my outfits. I plan Jordan's outfits. I try to plan Emmanuel's outfits, but he is a last minute packer, but I let him do his thing. I plan all of the toiletries we're taking. If you ever travel with me, it will be very clear to you that I am a germaphobe. And so I do a very deep cleaning of wherever we stay. I don't care about how many stars your hotel has. I'm still cleaning up after your team. It's a me thing, not a you thing. And so I track all of the things that we're going to do. I also plan our full itinerary. I put a status of like where I am. Is it booked? Am I talking to a team to help me? Like all of the things, I put it there in the tracker. I have too many things running through my mind to try to hold all of that mentally. And also being this planful just helps me feel more secure, more stable. I feel more confident about the path that I'm walking when I know exactly what I'm going to do. Like I feel like a plan makes it a little bit easier just to kind of breathe and know that I have things charted out. But hear my heart, y'all. I've also had to learn that over planning can take away from the experience. I'm learning that if I am too attached to the plan, I will miss the moment. If you look at all of this, my food, my home, my planning, my parenting, it's all the same principle. These started to show up when I stopped trying to plan everything in real time. When I built systems, I created space. If I had to pull it all together, there are 3 things that have changed how my life feels on a day-to-day basis. These aren't things that I was taught. These are things I learned by living it. The first is ease is created. It doesn't just happen. Like I shared earlier, I used to think that ease just happened. Like one day life would just feel lighter. But what I've realized is the areas of my life that felt the hardest were the ones with the least structure. Once I started to build systems, whether it was around food, my home, or even how I run my household, that's when ease started to show up. It's not like my pace slowed down or like I had less to do. I just wasn't deciding everything in real time anymore. The second is systems are a form of self-respect. And what I mean by that is when you build a system in your life, you're acknowledging your capacity. You're saying, I can't carry everything in my head, and I don't have to do everything the hard way. I promise you, you won't get a medal for it. Whether that's outsourcing, automating, or just creating structure in your day, it's not about being perfect. It's about supporting yourself in a very real way. Because the truth is, life is already demanding enough. And the third is, preparation creates peace, but flexibility protects joy. Like I said earlier, I am a planner. I like to know what's happening. I like to feel prepared, but I have also had to learn that if I hold too tightly to a plan, I'm going to miss the moment. And that's shown up for me in things like vacations. I have had every single thing mapped out, but then I feel disappointed if it doesn't go exactly how I imagined. So now I still prepare. I still use my tracker, but I am making an intentional effort to leave room to experience things as they come. Because ease isn't just about structure. It's also about how tightly you hold it. If your life feels harder than it needs to be, it might not be you. You might just need better systems. And the good news is, you get to decide what that looks like for your life. Y'all, thank you so much for trusting me with this conversation. I hope that you've taken either some tips or inspiration, or maybe it's rekindled a conversation with your partner about hiring that household assistant. As always, if this episode resonated with you, please consider giving it 5 stars and giving it a written review. I can't tell you how much that helps other people discover the pod. And also, as we're getting closer to the end of the season, like I mentioned earlier, we are going to do our final questions that need answers episode. This is where you all submit questions and I answer them on the pod. So if you have something that you've been navigating, or honestly just a question you've been sitting on, send it my way. You can DM me on Instagram or TikTok on the podcast account _middle pod, or you can send me a DM. I'm Vykky Howard on all platforms. Or if you are an email person, you can email inthemiddle@lifewithvykky.com. I will put all of this in the show notes, but I would love to get your questions to help us round out this season. Thanks so much, friends. I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to In the Middle. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend and click subscribe so you never miss an honest conversation about life in the middle. I'll see you next time.